I don't actually know which week we're on. Is this 12?
I
Or
think it's
not
Who
12.
knows?
week, which episode we're at?
No one
12.
cares.
And it I think people care. We have our
Nobody cares.
25 subscribers.
13,
They
13
care.
is important. That's true. Okay, 137, 13. All of this good.
So 13's next week. Okay.
The spooky
And
one.
we had our first guest last week, which is pretty cool.
We're going to keep bringing
it's
more
a-
of them. Yeah.
Yeah, we are. What they say is if you stop doing these type of podcasts and you don't do it consistently, they actually never happen. So the fact that
care.
we got through at least, no, we don't care. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like
Hi, Mom.
we do it, we do it because we love, we love
We love
helping.
talking, hanging out. Maybe for some of the 100 viewers who watch us on Twitter and 20 viewers on YouTube, if you can comment, but what you like to see happening or what you want more of. I guess to me, when we interview people, it's nice, and maybe we can just bring them to general conversation, and be like, hey, no need to give us your bio and everything, or just join the fun. But I don't know, you guys comment if you have some ideas.
Yeah, I think the episode
please.
went pretty well.
And subscribe. Hit subscribe. We should do like any other, hit subscribe.
Hit that like button.
We have
join
a
our
couple new subscribers. We have like
join our Patreon.
7 more or 8 more.
Oh, we have
I'm
7
not sure
more.
of the number.
Wow.
Wow,
I think we passed the 30 subscribers mark.
it's like 30% growth.
So that means the episode went well, right? I'm not sure if you guys heard any feedback in particular.
I just
I'll
go
let
to,
you
I
just
did.
to
look
the
at
coffee
the
shops
stats.
here, and every time I'm like, hey, subscribe. So I'm bringing them one by one. It's a lot of work.
I don't see that many people here.
You're in New York. What do you mean?
No. Like your subscribers, the people that you are asking to subscribe, they don't actually
They use
subscribe,
VPNs.
It seems.
That's why.
No, but I can see the number of actual subscribers.
Okay, I'll bring more. Maybe
Yeah,
a
we have
light
30
to me.
subscribers. Yeah.
So what do we talk about today?
I mean, we wanted to talk about this idea of being stuck in the messy middle, and there's ways to get out of it, which we've actually discussed over probably the last 11 sort of iterations.
We're expert at getting out of that messy middle. It's never pleasant, but we've done it.
Yeah, I think why and how we know we're experts is because we're all around the age of 30s and 40s, and we've gone through it before.
And
I think a
we're
lot of
still alive.
people, yeah, we're still alive. Yeah. So there's a quote I love, which is like, you've gone through 100% of your good and bad days, but you've made it so far, so you're still alive.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
a good
wanted to go
point.
back to the comment.
Okay, I'll bounce back on that after, but again.
Yeah, I want to go back to the comment that was sent to us last week. Was a post-exit founder actually texted me, direct messaged me on Signal, and, part of the post-exit founder group. And he's like, loving your podcast, love this interview, so great, absolutely know about the messy middle. I'm in it right now, and the guy sold his company. I think it was like 200 million plus, and made far more than the three of us combined on all of our exits. And
You don't know that. Sorry,
thought it
but
was-
you can sell our company for
Oh, you're right.
200 million bucks.
Yeah.
And still be poor. It happens.
it's true. I mean, he did buy a house for $30 million. So.
He wins.
But I think the cool thing is that there is regardless. I don't want to say it's cool, but regardless of your sort of level, there's always going to be this messy middle, even when you're super successful. Even like I was talking to a guy today, and I want to get into like sort of examples of some people that have gotten stuck. And Frank, maybe you can lead us on that. But there was a guy I was speaking to this morning who also is a very successful founder, and he sold his company, I think, for maybe $1 billion or 800 million. And I'm like, what are you doing now? And he's like, oh, I'm helping King Charles with his climate change stuff. And I'm like, so you're going to start a new company? Do you have any ideas? I'm like, are you going to buy your old company back because it's not doing so well? And he's like, no. He's like, I'm just doing this climate change stuff. And he was like, I was talking to him on the phone, and it was like he was on a couch, just lying down, resting, and like he woke up from a nap. And he's like, yeah, I was in Venice really late last night in my book. And I texted you, Frank, on Instagram. And I was like, hey, I think I just want to figure our stuff out, make some money, so we can be like that at some point. So maybe the messy middle is more of just a messier, figuring things out. But okay, whatever. Pass it to you, Frank, because
No, it's fine.
I
And
think you're an
I want to be
expert.
sure, to pass it to Teddy after, but I kind of see three or four things. Number one is in the journey of becoming an entrepreneur, at least on my end, I kind of went through different phases, but it was 2008, 2006, when none of the current vocabulary or, I didn't know what was venture. No one knew capital, like few people. Um, but I think phase one was like, you don't feel normal. Phase two is you realize you're an entrepreneur. And phase three is you're like, holy shit, it's been 15 years somehow. I don't have a job. And I always figured out a way to survive. And then you realize you're not normal anymore. Like you don't fit society anymore. You can see that when you cross the border. Every time I go to immigration, like I see the standard question and I'm like, what do you do? I'm like, holy shit, like how do I answer that? Or why do you live in Estonia? And I'm like, I don't know. Like it's it's like you're or whatever you feel, any kind of an administrative paperwork. And so I think there's this thing somehow you figure that out. But the text that your friend was sending about the fact that it's scary and all of that, it's true. I mean, there are people
Yeah.
who stay in the messy middle forever, and I think it's important to once say it's okay, it's difficult. If cash is a constraint, like super important message to tell people, like get a job. There's no shame in that. It's what most people dream of, and for some reason, I think, at least for me and other friends, I guess, when you're an entrepreneur, you feel like if you get a job, it's like a failure, which is weird. But I know many people think that, and we kind of need to stop that. It's fine, get a job, come back. You can always be an entrepreneur later, but don't be ashamed of that. Especially in Europe, maybe more than the US, where as an entrepreneur you always have to show this positive thing. You're like, well, I sold my company for 20 million, but you're like, shit, I'm broke. And then you have to be like, I look for a job, and people are like, oh my god, poor Frank. And I'll keep going, and then you guys can bounce on that. And then you have also, I think, another thing which happens, which is I've seen friends selling their company and regretting it, and we should talk about that. I had a friend, he had a company, he was super happy, sold the company, made a couple of millions, and 10 years later, he still tells me that was a big mistake, should have kept it. And now he never found that again. He never found that dynamic. He never found that energy. He never found that growth. And sure, you have some money, but he misses that. And so I understand also sometimes that's a good real question. Should you stop doing what you do, or should you keep doing it? And sometimes you just sell because you're in that phase where you're like, I'm tired, blah blah. So there's all these things that are never discussed, and I think that are interesting. Sometimes sharing this information with the founders, I think, is interesting. Then you have the founders who are awfully successful, make tons of money, and we kind of talked about that last week, which is some of them are just going to keep doing the same thing. Like we met some of them at Tectalia. Gabriel, the one I was interviewing, was a good example, where the guy's like did his company in the cloud, then sold his company, then did another company in the cloud, then sold his company, and now he's doing another company in the cloud. Just that he does. The guy could retire for 100 years and it doesn't matter. And then you have the people who kind of go through an existential crisis. They go cut wood, they go teach children in developing country mathematics, or they do ayahuasca with some tribe in Amazonia. But then,
Okay, I'm going to
just
interrupt
to
you.
finish,
So
like
that
the
next
learning,
is
just to finish
okay.
the learning of that is it never ends. It's always a messy middle,
Right.
but there's pleasant messy middle, and there's unpleasant messy middle. So that's it, man. And let's be sure also, Teddy, if you want to bounce on stuff.
I'm fine. I think the common theme in these examples is you feel bad in the messy middle, but why is that? Is it because of the society? Because it seems to me that you're always, not you, Frank, in particular, but we all in the messy middle sort of, again, compare to other people. And I mentioned that before. Why
compare myself to everybody, I
is
feel
so
like.
wrong to be in the messy middle? Maybe that's just the way it works for some people. And like, you just don't try to get out of the messy middle, but you try to sort of embrace it and make it work in your favor in a way. But in order for that to happen, you just need to stop comparing to whatever outside threshold or like the baseline is. Because what's wrong if you never had a proper job and you cannot get employed right now? It's nothing wrong there. You have the flexibility and the freedom to do whatever the F you want right now. So that's like a good thing, being in the messy middle.
I let Gabriel after bounce on that, but I don't think, to me, it's what other people think. To me, it's how people react. And so, if you do some stuff and you're like, I don't care about anyone else, I'm doing my stuff, that's fine.
Yeah.
There comes a point where it's nice when you meet people say, holy shit, this is great. Like, tell me more. Or, oh my God, you need to meet my friend blah. And then you're like, wow, that's cool. And that interaction is needed. But when you're in that phase and you're like, oh, I'm doing that. And people say, especially in San Francisco, interesting. And then they talk about something else. Like, oh, fuck. Like, not only I'm all alone, not only I can compare myself to Elon on a daily basis and feel bad about my life, but on top of that, whatever I'm working on alone, no one cares about. And I'm going to be alone forever. Anyway.
Yeah, but that's still short term. That's really short term. You're looking at very primitive things like trying to get dopamine from interaction with other people. Who cares?
No, it's practical because if people are excited, you can build a team, you can find investment. It's like it's.
But there are people for everything in the world. It doesn't have to be that same group in whatever San Francisco that needs to talk back to you and you feel important suddenly. You can find.
So maybe that's
people.
the sickness I have. To me, it needs to be this kind of people because if not, I'll be opening a coffee shop and I'll be okay. But I have the sickness of, I do need good people to be excited about what I do. Good.
I do too.
Educated.
They eventually will
Look,
be. Yeah, go ahead, Gab.
Well, look, see, for me, the challenge is, and I'm feeling it right now. It's this. And okay, maybe certain people's messy middle, they're just like really good at going through it and either appearing that everything is okay.
They have a crying
There's
inside,
no issues.
but they look happy.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think I agree with Frank on how people react when you pitch them. Most of the time when you pitch them something when you're working alone on it, a lot of times they're not interested, and my example is I'm deciding, between doing a turnaround or doing a startup again. Right. And I have zero ideas for a startup. I can make a bunch of ideas up and see if they go anywhere. But that's really not been my process. And the turnaround thing's interesting, but I have not found anybody yet who's been like a real champion that's outside of my current network to be like, you know what, this would be very exciting and would be something that we can get behind together. So it's this mess. I don't know what's going on with my...
I think
it's
the MacBook camera that does that when you sort of do the like impression.
Okay.
Gesture.
Is it going to show up on Riverside as well?
I think so. Yeah.
Those bastards.
If you use the default camera, I think, Frank.
I do. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how to feel bad outside of the messy middle. Maybe Teddy, you have a better way of handling it. But for me, I only talk to people, I travel, and then something happens.
Teddy, I think we all have different style. Maybe we should build like what style you are. And I feel like Teddy is a honey badger. Teddy doesn't give a shit. Anything anyone says, Teddy just keep building shit.
No, I would love to be that person, but maybe
I'm
I
more
don't.
sensitive to people's feedback.
Yeah, I used to be, and I still am right now. I'm trying not to be as much, but I spent 2 years really being down and really messy middle. And I think I'm just now on the other side. And the way, not fully on the other side, but the way I get to this point is by actually doing that, trying not to care what others think, trying not to care what I'm working on. And the inspiration came from working on things that I love. And I think that's also the difference. I don't necessarily look at something to be interesting for conversation in a networking event or be super huge thing when you pitch it to people, but it can be something super low key idea that I just find passion in, and I have ideas how to turn it into a larger thing, but then let me work on this little thing, let me drain some inspiration from there, get some inspiration from there, and hopefully by the time I have enough inspiration, this thing will grow and then I'll be able to turn it around. But that's the whole point for me, trying to do what I love and not to really pay attention to what people say.
At the end of the day, I think we're doing the same thing. It's just the modus operandi, the way we do it is different. And that's fine. And again, maybe to clarify, to me, it's equally great when I pitch something and people hate it. It's even better. Like if people say, oh, it's a stupid idea, like fucking hate it, I'm like, oh, it's great. It's like, because you always have like very polarizing ideas, and then you just need a couple of believers and it's fine. The meh idea, like, you can make some money with it, and everybody else, like 2,000 people has the same idea. But you're right. I mean, especially when you're a developer, you can find idea by just, building things and then be like, oh, I built that thing that I could use for something else, which is kind of cool. There's other style of Chris McCann. No, was it Chris? No, it's T.A. McCann in Seattle, who works at, I think he works now at Pioneer Square Lab, if I'm correct. I hope I am. Mm-hmm. But I think he used to the way he did, and he did many successful business, was he would develop with a PowerPoint, just a deck, and that's how he would do his development process. So different style, but I think at the end of the day, what gets you out of a messy middle is either a good idea, or either meeting someone that you feel like you can build something with, who might already have some kind of idea. And so to me, I want to go back to that, which is, there are very many cases, and my bet is actually most of the case are people never get out of that messy middle. And they might not get out of it maybe for different reasons. I'm just going to go through a hypothesis, but I think the first one is they try to reproduce what brought success to them. And so they're going to redo what happened and worked for them. But to me, it's the same as saying you won the lottery and now you're going to play again and playing the same numbers. It's an extreme example, but I mean, there are plenty of examples of very successful founders who launched, what was his name? The Facebook guy who did some video. Yeah, what was his startup? Yeah, shit. No, and I'm, and it's fucking hard for everybody. It's like it's actually quite hard to do 2 success stories in a row or 3 success stories in a row. This is the way you do it is, honestly, I think, by building on your unfair advantages. And I think that's the key. And like what do you have as an unfair advantage? But if you have 0 unfair advantage, which happens a lot, then it's fucking hard. Sorry.
I also think there could be the issue of jumping around too much, right? Between ideas. And sometimes I don't know if that's, me in a way, because I went from doing payments to video games startups to doing SPAC. But they used all of my unfair advantages, which is basically I can connect with people and I could talk with people. But then it's like, now in this messy middle, because you have the experience of, and I'm giving my example, right? Because you have the experience of both doing stuff in finance and doing stuff in startups, you're like, okay, where do you go? And you don't want to go backwards, but you also want to go forward. And so I've talked to a few, sort of founders in sort of messy middle have had those similar experiences and they've gotten out of it. But there's a few that I've spoken with that haven't gotten out of it, and you're like, it's scary. You're talking like, yeah, I've got like 50 deals I'm working on this deal, I'm working on that deal, I've got this one. Like, don't look at the share price because, we took them public, but it's fine. It'll be like really good in a couple of years. So like, we're going to build the best AI company. And in the same sentence, the guy's saying, we're going to build the best sports company. And in the same sentence, the guys say, I also like video games. I'm going to start a video game company.
NFT.
And you're like, yeah. And it was scary because, that conversation, you're like, okay, you don't want to be that either. So, I mean, I think the messy middle is messy. Like that's kind of what
and
we're
again,
saying.
there's different tactic. Like another one I like, honestly, and I know maybe it's a stupid one because it's fucking hard, but I did it a couple of times, is indeed you use 0 unfair advantage and you go in an industry where you know nothing about and where no one knows you. And it's kind of like starting from scratch, but at least you don't feel bad because no one is like, oh my God, he's doing that now. It's like you're like, all right, I'm gonna be whatever, like building the next factory using AI and robots and all the shit about that. But it's fine because I don't know anyone and no one knows me. So it's like I'm brand new, and you can start from scratch and be like, oh, I've got this new idea. And then usually people say, oh, wow, no one heard about that idea. So it's a good time also. It's a good way to meet new people. So I like that strategy. And I was worried that as I age, it would be difficult, but I'm like, I mean, if that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, you technically, especially if you do online product, you can be 90 years old. Everybody can hate you, but it's at the end they buy the product, and so it goes back to basics. But that's really hard. Like you have to be good at something. If you do that, then you're in competition with all the world, and you'd better be really good at at executing.
Yeah, maybe you just have to be better at staying long enough in the game. Back to this thing of not knowing anything about the industry. I think that's a good advantage. You're so naive, you don't know anything. You can do all sorts of mistakes. It's fine. You don't care what people say just because you are in that beginner's mindset. So it doesn't really matter. It's basically giving yourself advantage, even you don't have that advantage just by putting yourself into that position. One interesting thing you said is you're trying to repeat your past success, and I think that's been the source, in addition to the comparison with other people, the source of me feeling miserable for some time was because I was trying to repeat, to achieve the same thing, doing the same things that I did in the past and worked really well. And I'm like trying endlessly and it just doesn't work. And I'm like getting more and more depressed because it just doesn't work. So I'm like also comparing to my past version, which is good to be comparing in order to become better version of yourself. But then I wasn't able to do it. I was like constantly getting worse and worse results and outcomes. It was really,
it's
really
even
bad,
better
so.
if it's even better. It's even worse if you succeed in repeating a pattern, because now you're really convinced you have the secret sauce and you're going to toxically tell everybody what to do, and it's just so bad.
Yeah. And there's few examples where somebody's really able to do that. And again, that's like comparing yourself to Elon Musk or Richard Branson, or I mean, Branson was able to do it by putting Virgin on anything. But there's even a guy now who's been doing these roll-ups, and he rolled up like waste management businesses, and rolled up transportation businesses, and now he's doing it in construction. But the guy's like 69 years old, worth $3 billion. It's awesome. It's amazing. But like, it's to replicate that type of success is gotta be luck versus. No,
it is luck. I mean, we can debate on that. There's some old idea. You remind me. We never did it because I guess it's difficult. But when I was at Startup again, I was thinking about doing the Startup Olympics. And to me, the way it would work is you take Elon, you take Musk, you take some YC 20 years old, but you strip them out of their name, their advantages, their anything they have, and you just see. You just put them on a common ground, and they have like 3 months to launch something.
I think there was something like that, like a show.
It was Undercover
I don't remember
Boss.
the guy.
It's not the same here. I'm
Some
talking about like
Instagram,
a real combination.
Guy. Yeah, I think it was real. They were given like $100 and they needed to create something without using their name and relations. I can't remember the name of this guy. It's like super famous motivational type of speaker.
Like a Tony Robbins type show.
Yeah, something like him. But I don't know the name. It's like a.
It took my idea.
Here's $100. Come up.
Something like that.
They give Frank and I $100. Like, Frank, here's $100 to figure it out. We'd be like, yes, let's go get lunch first. And then, no, I'm kidding.
I'm gonna buy some bitcoins.
Yeah.
That's a good question. But
are you looking up for the show, Teddy?
Yeah.
Please.
I don't know.
It'd be cool to watch. But that's something else also we could do just with friends. It's like, let's just do once a year. We have 1 month, and that's, to me, that's one way I would like to teach entrepreneurship, which is to give a whole class. Everybody's building the same business, and we see who ends up with the best execution.
In college, I went to Babson, right, for the first 2 years, and we had a course called
Never
Foundations
heard of it.
in Management.
Is that a good school? Sorry.
It's ranked the number one in undergraduate entrepreneurship in the world, and like I think like this year it like broke like the top 10 records, which is crazy. Obviously, I graduated from NYU though, so because I didn't want to be in Boston. But the course that we took was Foundations in Management and Entrepreneurship, And we spent the first semester setting up the business, recruiting the team, coming up with the idea, whatever, doing the whole stuff that you need to do on the business side, right? And then the second semester is harvesting and closing the business. And it's a simulated, obviously it's simulated in the university setting, but your grade is based on how well the company does. So if you can like sell X amount, you automatically get an A. So I didn't become CEO. They didn't select me to be CEO. They thought I wasn't good enough, even though I ran a huge charity before. And it was fine. At first, I was kind of like upset about it. And then I said, you know what? This is amazing. I'm VP of sales. And the hack was that I just called a couple of people that I knew in my network. And I said, can you buy $3,000 worth of this product that we're doing, which are stickers? And my donor bought, my large donor for the charity bought, whatever, $7,000 worth of stickers that said like Jesus loves you, and I kind of hacked it, right? So I think like, and they didn't give us a budget. They were like, you just gotta come up. Maybe they gave us like $2,000 for the startup or something. And it's very similar to what we're discussing. And I think maybe from the messy middle side, which is interesting, is you give yourself a challenge. You just say, do something totally different. Like, don't go raise money to go do something. Or if you're somebody who doesn't raise money, go raise money. But like, challenge yourself in a way that can get your brain thinking even for a small win.
Yeah. I mean, two things. Number one, again, the reason we talk about that is I'm a big believer that I wish this YouTube channel existed before, because then I'll feel better. And so I feel like groups like the PF, Post-Exit Founders, this channel, the idea of exchange of information, should make this process better, because right now it's a huge waste of society time. So again, like that's the reason we're talking about what's wrong, so we can maybe address it in one way or another and sharing what seems to work, what doesn't work. But I lost what I wanted to say, so I'm gonna pass it back to Teddy until he comes back. But
hey, Teddy, come up with something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything to add. I just guess we just gotta embrace the messy middle. That's it. That's like the bottom line for me. Not look for cheap dopamine and short-term gains. That's.
Yeah, sorry, my mind was wandering, but the thing that I thought about, and we talked about it before, but I really like, South Park, and when you deal like they have this amazing, show where they show how South Park was built, and they kind of go through this creative process of making the whole episode in 1 week. It's really cool, and if they don't finish the episode, then they have nothing on air. So there's a lot of pressure for creativity. Pressure, I think, is a good thing. So say, hey, we have 1 month to do something, I think is a good thing. Like so that's something we can do between all of us and, with a bunch of friends, and to be, well, whatever, in 1 month we learn some shit and we have no choice. The second one I liked is they played Lego. And the reason he was playing Lego is because the Lego is like you put that brick and you put it on top of that brick and then you have something. And that's very structural. And we deal with the opposite of that, right? We deal where there's no manual for what's next. There's no manual for you take this thing and you do that thing and then you'll have your beautiful idea. And so it's actually good, I think, for your brain to do things like that where it's peaceful and everything is well organized and you know exactly what's going to happen. And so I thought that was a good trick also to relax your brain. Because again, most people who have a job, that's exactly what they have, right? It's like you wake up in the morning. Exactly. It's Monday, and Monday it's that, and then Monday night I have yoga and blah blah, and you have this rhythm and you have these habits and you have these things. But when you wake up, everybody be like, oh my god, like it's like writer's block, and you're shit. Like, what should I do? What should I come with? Actually, a way to unblock seem like to do repetitive tasks and easy things it's also a good thing. So anyway, we'll test this thing on ourselves. But I see you bought your Lego, and I bought like a model, like your the robot. Old one, like where you've got some glue and you have to paint them. It takes more time. It's cheaper and it takes more time, so it's a better return on investment.
Well, Lego is a gift from one of our friends.
What Lego is it? I didn't see it. Which one?
It's a Ferrari. So it's the 1970 Ferrari 512M.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Casper got it for me. So it was my Tectalia gift from him, which was very nice. It was a pain in the butt to get it back here because I went all around Europe and then finally got it in New York there. Um, I do think pressure is important. It also, on the flip side, can really, really make it difficult to decide. But at some point, you have to decide to get out of it. If you want to get out of it, you have to
Yeah.
decide. It's you. That's the only person that's going to get you out of it. And your friends are going to help you, your family's going to help you. But I really think it comes down to saying, okay, let's make a decision. Um, and sometimes you make the decision for yourself to just stay in there a long time, like a very long time. And like a very long time is not 6 months or a year. A very long time, it's years. And I would say one of my co-founders of my business is definitely still in my past business is definitely still in the messy middle. And it took him a while to finally get out of it. And that was because he wanted to go back to school and study physics. And I'm incredibly inspired by him now because I'm like, wow, he took the chance to say, I don't want to do any of the business stuff for 2 or 3 years. I want to go get my undergraduate degree completed and I'm going to study physics. So he entered that. And like, this is a guy who, we sold Gamma together, right? But there were years. I mean, he didn't start the school until I think last year or the year before. So that was 3 years from,
Wow.
starting
That's a long
selling the
time.
startup.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
the first step of a messy middle is to know you're in the messy middle, and that might not be obvious for many people. It might not.
it's
I
true.
think naming it is helpful. You know,
Hmm.
you don't even know. You're like, what
Yeah,
the fuck is happening? And like, no, it's messy middle, and it's okay. It's like rebound.
yeah. What I think is cool is what I do think is cool and a positive element that we're kind of taking out of this, sort of tough discussion is I don't think we have that many examples. Like we don't have 20 plus examples of people that are stuck in the messy middle forever. I think for most of us, do you have 20 examples, personal examples of people who are stuck in the messy middle for more than 3 or 5 years?
No.
What about you,
To
Frank?
think,
I mean,
I think yes. I do think because I have a high volume of friends and connection. So of
yeah.
course out
Well,
of
also startup
1,000 people,
weekends
but
though.
I no, yeah, exactly. And so no, I think it's very common. But I think there's also what you see and what's the reality, right? It's like my friend right now is doing stuff, he's investing, he has a startup, he makes money. But when I talk to him, he's like, I should not have sold my company. Like I'm never gonna get that again. And so, sure, in a way, he's got out of it because he's doing something, but that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about I'm moving my hands and I'm doing something and now that's what I do.
Right,
Because we know that's not out of a messy middle. This is just
right.
your new stuff. To me, the out of messy middle is back to excitement and growth, which is different from back to being busy, which goes back to the quote I reread myself I gave to this guy in Vietnam. You have to not mix, or you should not think that movement and momentum is clarity.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
It smells like
I mean,
clarity. It looks like clarity. It feels like you're getting outside of the middle, but the truth is you're still there, in the quicksand moving.
so for you guys, okay, I know what Frank's is. So Teddy, what is getting out of the messy middle for you? And then will we close the podcast once we're all out of the messy middle?
No, we'll interview people. That's all we'll do.
Yeah, no, I think it's clarity for sure. Even if you work on different things, you get some momentum, traction, everything. It sounds like it works, but these are just little hopes that can potentially lead you to the exit of the messy middle, but they're not
Hope
actually
is
the
great.
end. Yeah, hope is great. Hope is these micro wins that you get either from building stuff or talking to people, getting the feedback from them, the positive feedback. And then when you finally get clarity, excitement, you don't actually think about other ideas afterwards. You just sort of focus
Exactly.
on one, and you feel good about that. And I don't think the messy middle, to me or in my mind, is this place where you go and then you get out of it. It's a thing that you need to go through. It's like I don't know, this, you mentioned quicksand. There's scene in Harry Potter where they want to go on the other side of this thing between some floors, and then there's like this tree that can capture them. So if you are into panic mode and you move too much, the branches will basically break your bones. So you have to just stay calm and you get on the other side. So that's what I think when I think of the messy middle. Yeah.
Don't let it break your bones.
No. Be careful.
But I
Don't move
agree.
too much.
To me, you're out of the messy middle when you're not looking for something else and you're entirely focused on one thing.
Agreed. Actually, I think that was one of the most important points that you mentioned on this episode, for Teddy. Like, it's like when you have that one thing you're excited about, and it's a driving North Star where you're like, okay, I'm working on this. Let's make it happen. And it doesn't matter if you have like, 50,000 in your bank account or 10 million or 100 million.
No,
you're like, doesn't matter. Like,
you feel
doesn't
great.
matter. You just push them. You feel great, and you wake up in the morning, and you're like,
knowing what
boom,
you do, what's your role in life. Yeah, exactly. It's that clarity.
Yeah.
And money has nothing to do with it. And you're right. You can have money and not have any clarity, and it's actually quite miserable too.
Mm-hmm. And having gone through that 3-4 times, the sort of the messy middle, and like I can pinpoint that feeling, and like I can visualize it. Like you can imagine it. One thing that also does help is you imagine it, and you say, well, what did I do to get there? And a lot of the times it's all the things that, and I'm not saying you can reproduce what got you from the last thing through the messy middle to the next thing, but there are certain things that you probably should do that were similar, and you probably will do because we repeat ourselves in life.
I keep thinking about the what's his name from Angelist,
Naval.
Naval and the other and his co-founder, but they a couple of years ago, and that was a big thing, and we reused that also at Startup Weekend. But there was this idea of pitching startup like you would pitch movies, very short, like Jaws in space, that's aliens and all of that. And I really think that there's so many similarities between actors and entrepreneurs, or between movie directors and movies. And it's like a good example of a messy middle is you've been typecast, and you can get out of it. And whatever movie you'll do and whatever you'll do, you'll go back to, you're not so good at that. And so there's an element of that too, and it's real, and it's very real. You're like, oh my God, I wish I could do back to this great movie again, but you'll never be able to, and everybody will. It's like you're Jean-Luc Picard now forever.
Yeah.
Whatever you'll do, be like, but Jean-Luc, he's the guy who did Facebook. Oh, he's the Napster guy. Who's the Twitter dude? What is he doing now? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. But he made like a lot of money, so who cares? That's people say, but no, you have to be empathetic. Yeah. I think there's similarities in that sense.
And you could embrace your typecast. You'll be like, you know what? I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be the startup guy, and that's fine.
Yeah. Or like, what's his name? The guy who, I want to say Steven Seagal, who's always typecast as the worst kind of action hero of all time.
That's true.
And he just is in horrible movies. But I think there is a difference though between pitching movies and being an actor than an entrepreneur, because once you're done with the movie, then you're done with it. As an entrepreneur, you can pitch it and keep going, but it can go on forever. And like movies have a cycle of 1 to 2 years, maybe 3, maybe 4, but you could be doing multiple at the same time.
Tell that to Macaulay Culkin, or Home Alone every year. Forever.
Yeah, he's got good residuals.
He'll be 70 years old, and they're still going to bring him on stage and be like, hey, tell us about, I used to know Michael Jackson. Anyway, you're forever.
Okay, so let's come to a conclusion here, because I think we've kind of, this is always going to be the continuing topic. There are people that can get stuck in the messy middle forever. Those people are not, we're not saying that those people are the homeless guy in the park that, went totally insane. We're mostly saying it's people that we know that have sold their businesses and are kind of unhappy because they haven't found the exciting thing that's next.
It,
And then there's others who just spin their wheels, you know, from job to
yeah,
job, I guess. And they,
to me, my message would be we are now addressing it and we're going to put words on it, and we need to put words through this different process.
right.
The same way I did this thing like the entrepreneur journey, where it was like getting inspired, discover, blah, blah. And it's every models are wrong, but at least you could put words. A startup is not the same as a scale up. Being inspired is not the same as discovering things. And I feel like for a messy middle, again, step one is, do you have to realize you're in a messy middle? And again, I don't think people even know that today. I think they're just like, and we need to put words on these things. We need to share experience, and we need to see whatever pattern we see. And it's not going to give solution, but at least we can you're in that phase, or you're in that phase, or you're in that phase. And here's other people who have been through that phase before, and that's the different stories about how they got out of it. And we'll do our best to share tools to express yourself, to invite people to talk about it, and then hopefully we'll help society, and then we'll have less and less people stuck. Because if many people are stuck, that means a lot of them should meet each other. And
Mapping the messy middle, sort of map.
yeah.
Cool.
So do we have a quote? I
I'll
think it's Gabriel's time.
Yeah,
It's Gabriel's quote today.
It's my quote, and
your
it's a very
quote.
simple quote, but it's a quote that I'm attributing it to the ether. But you got to be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself during this time, and it's hard to do, but just remember to be kind.
Are you not kind to yourself? Like, what do? You slap yourself in the morning? Bad, Gabriel. Bad.
My God, Gabriel, no. I think when you're in the messy middle period, a lot of the times you just want to feel bad about yourself, and you also want to tell you want to be mean to yourself, right? Like you want to say
I'm
like
kidding.
you're not doing a good job. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think like it's hard because regardless, you can be the guy who sold something for $200 million. You say, well, look, I sold it for $1 billion, and I'm coming up with my next idea, and the reason, and I'm not good enough because I didn't do that. No, I think it's a simple thing where it's hard to do. So
Totally. And it depends. It's like sports. It's like games. It's like you won the, I don't know, the Roland Garros, and then you have to start again, and maybe you're not going to, win, the 20, 30 next games, and you might go through, like some downtime, and then you have to go back at it. I forgot which tennisman went through that thing. Was it Agassi or
Agassi?
McEnroe?
It's probably
I think it was
Agassi.
one of the two.
It was Agassi. Agassi was on the top, and then he kind of lost it, and he went down to 200 for a while, and then the big reason was he was like, I won everything. What's my life about? And he went through that journey, and then at one point was like, okay, I came back to, I'm just going to play tennis because I love it. And then he came back on the top, but he had to have all these things happening in his brain that realigned well to be able to compete again. And I feel like that's, especially again, there's different kind of startup, but the one we're talking about, the one we've been a part of, the thing we build is more, it's more like Premier League, or, it's more like NFL, and that's why it's hard. It's like you're not talking about just, oh, I've got to go, launch another cafe, and cafe is difficult too, but you're talking about competing with, some of the best entrepreneurs in the world, and that takes, a different kind of mindset, and it's difficult.
When you raise from the best entrepreneurs in the world and surround yourself with those entrepreneurs in the world, even though you're competing with everybody else, you're in a way also competing with the investors that you raised from. You say, because they were able to do it, I can do it, and you don't want to let them down. So I think you just got to be kind to yourself. Okay, are we done? We done here?
Yeah.